Hello, everybody. We are live, just barely, at Arrowhead Stadium, where it's about 5 till 1, and we're going to break down what the heck just happened on the field behind us. We have a little bit different setup. I guess the folks in the suites tonight had the low tables instead of the high top tables, so we're switching it up. We're cool with it. We have a new face with us tonight. We have Alex Schiffer to my right, who normally covers Mizzou, but he's pinch hitting for both Vahe and Lynn, so he's a combo right now. Eventually somebody will sub in, but until then, we're just going to have our mystery guest. On the other side of me, I have Sam Mellinger.
Either way,
man. And then on the other side of him, we have Blair Kirchhoff, who is going to run out of the frame as soon as he gets a chance. But until then, I pulled Blair in here because Blair just wrote a super informative story up on KansasCity.com on the 5 moments in the final minutes that flipped the Chiefs' victory into a crushing defeat. They lost, of course, to the Chargers 29-28. By the way, nobody predicted that score, so nobody has bragging rights today. I did get close, though, because I said 30-24. I couldn't remember my score. Blair, what were these 5 moments in the final minutes?
Let's establish that in the last, I forgot what the parameters were.
I know what stat you're talking about.
There are a few of them here. There's a lot of hyphen zeros. 88-0 for teams that have a 14-point lead in the last 5 minutes of games this season.
Yep.
Phillip Rivers 0-20 when trailing by 14 or more in the last 5 minutes of games. And Andy Reid, since 2013, since he was a Chiefs coach, 39-0 with a 14-point lead anytime in the fourth quarter. So all that going for the Chiefs with a 14-point lead with 4 minutes to go, and they lose 29-28. I was surprised. I was a little bit surprised by the outcome of this game. So a lot of things went wrong, but key to all of the things that went wrong were penalties. Penalties on, especially on defense, but a big one on special teams too, on the kickoff return that started them back. Very poor field position, and then the top-ranked offense in the NFL couldn't get a first down when they absolutely had to have a first down. So, pass interference penalties, defensive holding penalties. I didn't count the number of penalties in the last 4 or 5 minutes, but it had to be 4 or 5, and all of them against the Chiefs. All of them were crushing and contributed mightily to the downfall tonight.
It was Oprah's favorite things, penalty edition.
It was.
Yes.
Penalty edition, exactly.
Good Lord, were there penalties. What do you think was the most costly penalty? If you had to pick one, which one in your mind?
Well, there are a couple things. Phillip Rivers had just gotten sacked, right? Mm-hmm. This was 20. They were at the 10, I believe. Phillip Rivers got sacked. It ends up being the third to last play of the game, and the clock is running. Chargers have to use their last timeout, so 13 seconds to go. They snap the ball from the 10, throw it. That's where they threw it to the back of the end zone. Uncatchable ball. Was it Mike Williams or I forgot who it was?
Yeah, it was to Mike Williams. Short middle.
But that was the Fuller penalty.
Yes.
Yes.
Kendall Fuller.
Which all of us in the press box said this got to be offensive pass interference.
Looked like he pushed off,
right.
but Fuller had his arm, had the other arm.
Right.
And it was Benjamin or Williams. I can't remember who it was that went up.
It was Williams.
So that put the ball at the 1. Okay, so that puts the ball at the 1 with 8 seconds to go. And the Chargers get the touchdown. First touchdown.
Twitter thought that was a makeup penalty because the play
Dorino
before,
Daniel
with
like
that hit, yes.
Yep. And I thought it should have been called too. And I think any other point of the game that would have been called wasn't called then.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I had, by the way, I never get voicemails to the work number. I got one like seconds after the game ended. It comes through our email. And I don't know who this gentleman was because he did not leave his name, but he wanted to let me know that Charvarius Ward should be cut from the team for that
I thought that was a terrible
block in the
penalty.
back, which that was bad.
You absolutely cannot have a penalty on a kickoff return when you're in that position. And it was going to be a short kickoff return anyway, but instead of starting at the 20 or the 22, they start at the 11. And then Demetrius Harris gets a false start penalty. Yep. So Colquitt's punting out of the end zone there. Has a good kick. And the Chargers return guy muffs the punt, but he falls on it, right? Chiefs lost a chance to
Felt
to
like
end
almost
the
like
game.
it was going to be like the first Chargers game. When it
Right,
was a
big muff punt
yeah.
played a big role in that game. So, breaks didn't go the Chiefs' way, and they lose a game they absolutely shouldn't have lost. Cost them a chance to clinch the West, put the Chargers in the playoffs, and it really means the Chiefs have to win out. I think they got to win at Seattle, and
To
now
get the one.
to get
To
the
get the
one.
one.
That's right, and win the West and get the.
If they lose
getting the
out,
one.
they get the 5. Is that right?
Well, if they finish behind the Chargers,
They finish behind the
they'll-
Chargers.
They'll be the 5. Yeah, so there you go. And whoever is the 1, if it's between these two teams, and whoever's the 5, chances are they're going to play each other in the playoffs. I think there's a chance they'll meet each other in the playoffs.
Here we go again.
So play for a third time here, could play out in L.A. It could happen. Hey, it's Blair Kirchhoff, and if you're listening to this, you love Kansas City sports, whether it's the Chiefs, Royals, Sporting, Mizzou, KU, or K-State. And no one covers these teams like the Kansas City Star. If you currently subscribe to the paper or have a digital subscription, thank you for your support. And if you don't, here's a great offer. It's called Sports Pass, unlimited digital access to every sports story and video on kansascity.com. And it's just $30 for the first year. It's the best sports value in town, just 8 cents a day or $2.50 a month. You can't beat that. Subscribe now at kansascity.com/sportspass.
Well, speaking of losses and playoffs, Sam, your column was about how this felt like a playoff loss, regular season. And I had an accidentally prophetic tweet walking into the stadium. I kind of wandered around the tailgates for a little bit, and I tweeted, if you told me that this was a playoff game, I believe you 100%, just based on the atmosphere. And whew, I'm really sorry if that jinxed anything, but here we are. It very much was a home playoff game.
I think it's pretty remarkable how closely that script follows, January against the Titans especially, and a little bit the game in Indianapolis a few years ago too, just a blown lead. Although it's striking that neither one of those were 14 points in the last 5 minutes, right? Unless all those stats were just regular season only. But there was a lot going on. Some of these calls were a little questionable. I know Dorian O'Daniel got away with one, right? But there was one early. Was that second quarter? Daniel Sorensen,
Right, yeah,
in
the
the end
holding
zone.
call.
I didn't see
It was
anything
soft.
there. That was basically a 4-point penalty. But anyway, you guys know how I feel about talking about the refs. Ballot of the loser, right?
Loser will win.
And they, what strikes me though is like this was a team effort. You win as a team, you lose as a team, and I think the initial, I know at least on Twitter, is why isn't Bob Sutton fired still?
Also on our Facebook Live.
Yeah, which I get, right? Like just get a stop at some point and you win the game, but the offense has to take at least a share of this blame here because you just brought it up, but you got the league's best offense and you have the ball with, was it 3:29 left, something like that
something
they
like
took over. You got to get a first down. I don't care that they were backed up to the 11.
It
or
hasn't
whatever.
bothered him before.
Yeah, just get even one first down, but certainly just get a couple if you're the best offense in the league and you win the game. Like it's striking. Like both units had a chance to win the game, kind of on their own, right?
Right.
And they both failed.
Well, and how much do you think not having? It felt like in that situation, that was where Kareem Hunt that's
Totally.
where he took over. How much did that feel like? That was kind of the missing factor. You didn't have him, and then Sammy Watkins, I felt like was also you could feel his absence tonight.
Yeah, I think Sammy Watkins makes a big difference with this offense. Like beyond the numbers, you have to defend these guys differently. You defend Sammy Watkins differently than you do Chris Conley. You just do. And yeah, the Kareem Hunt, I think that is a big deal. And if Kareem Hunt was on the field, on the roster now, who knows? Maybe they do win that game. But I guess there's three things that I hesitate to blame that on. One, they haven't always closed those games out with Kareem Hunt, with the ball on the ground. Two, he's not coming back, right? And three, Damian Williams had some nice moments. Damian Williams isn't, some guy they pulled out of the stands. He showed some shiftiness, ran over James, wasn't it? On that one little run.
Darrell Williams had some decent
That got
runs
called
too.
back for penalties.
Yeah. But he showed, as a former colleague would say, he showed some juice. And so with Damian Williams, I just don't think you can blame it on him or on Kareem Hunt not being there for all those reasons.
Right, absolutely. Sam, what was your biggest takeaway talking with some of these guys about the way that this felt like a playoff loss? What were they saying? Because I got shut out of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. You were in there though.
Yeah.
What were they saying?
It was some of the quotes, some of the things in the locker room were very playoff-esque. What did Chris Jones say?
Not a
this
lot.
is tough. Mentally, this is very tough. Damian Williams talked about what we just talked about, that, keep the ball and you end the game. It's that simple. There was a dejected feeling. And look, maybe this is like a reporter kind of projecting a little bit, because I felt like it was the same thing as a Titans game, but it seemed a little bit similar in that room. Very quiet. No laughs, no nothing. And people are going to be mad to hear this, but a lot of times professional athletes, even after losses, it's very next play, and they will laugh. They will have, in certain
Short
moments.
memory.
Right.
Andy Reid, I did ask a question. It was sort of the prelude to the question was basically this felt a lot like playoff losses. How do you move on? Something like that. And he seemed to yep. He seemed to get it that yes, this, which was different. Remember when the Chiefs lost to the Steelers? Well, sorry, you guys don't. But the
Sure
Chiefs
don't.
the Chiefs lost to the Steelers in the regular season the year after they lost in the playoffs, and it was almost the exact same game. The score was a point or two off.
We talked about it, yeah.
Yes. And after that game, somebody asked Alex Smith, wow, this was just like the playoff loss, and he seemed stunned that would come up. No, this was not even close. This was different. It seemed like the guys in that locker room and Andy Reid at the podium. Yes, I do get it. This does feel a lot, very similar. It's like sort of a dry run for the emergency, a dry run for the annual choke. And now they've got 2 weeks to see if they can avoid that.
Is it good that they've had the dry run?
I have
for the
no
choke?
idea. Because if this is a results-based answer, right? Because if they end up making the Super Bowl, it'll be oh, well, they got their choke out of the way,
It was
they
their
learned their
turning
lesson,
point.
all that stuff.
Bookmark
And
this situation.
Yeah, and if they lose, to the Patriots in this building, or maybe the Patriots in Foxborough, we're going to be, we saw it coming. That's a very results-based answer. I don't think it's good, though.
Well, you mentioned the Patriots maybe in Foxborough. I wondered how much you thought, just the fact that the losses before this have been on the road. They also been close games, but they've been on the road. They weren't division losses.
Yeah.
Is that part of that feeling that you feel like you got that sense? I mean,
Some-
because
yeah.
Invincibility.
just the
Right?
fact that being at home where they hadn't lost, having not lost in the division. I mean, all that just sort of went all poof on one play. I mean, not one
Right.
play, but one play.
Well,
you know?
even Jason mentions this feels like the first real loss because
Yes.
after the other losses, it felt
Yes.
so optimistic.
I can totally get where he's coming from on that, because the other losses, those were games that the Chiefs just simply aren't going to have, or at least had the power to not face again. If they won today, there was a very, very little chance that they would have to play in Foxborough, right? Obviously, they don't have to play at the Coliseum against that team
Right.
again, on the road. So this was the first time that it was sort of maybe that the first time they've lost as a favorite, right? They were like a
Yeah.
4-point underdog. They had to be an underdog in Foxborough. So the first time they've lost to a team that they should beat, a team that they beat on the road earlier. I get all that. It's not invincibility. That was the wrong word, but the feeling of superiority, I think, is dashed.
You think at all this is, I mean, I'm not trying to be devil's advocate, but I think part of the problem is that San Diego was the week 1 opponent, and a lot has happened on both sides since then. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they did great without Melvin Gordon, and I think Phillip Rivers has been in more of these situations than Pat Mahomes. And I thought when they went for the 2-point conversion, I didn't think there was any way they weren't getting it, honestly.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought that this isn't like a bad loss in the sense of they lost to like Oakland.
Sure.
But
sure,
it
sure.
is
It's a good team.
Yeah, exactly. I think that that's kind of being left a little absent from all this, is that they did lose to a team that's 10-3 and has a lot more of a veteran presence on both sides of the ball
Right.
than some of the other teams they've had.
The biggest difference between the Chargers that they lost to and the Chargers that they beat in the first game is Joey Bosa.
Yes.
Because this was the most, I don't know if the numbers will back this up, but it certainly felt like, I'm curious if you guys agree, the most pressure that Pat was under.
Yeah.
It seemed like.
Well, I'd
Pretty
say by
consistent.
most pressure without it being blitzes. I would put that caveat on it because remember, I mean, like you look at last week.
Yeah.
Last week he got hit 15 times. But I mean, like even Mitchell Schwartz during the week was talking about. Yeah, I think this week it wasn't that many. I mean, at least statistically.
Yeah.
But like last week.
5 quarterback hurries.
Yeah,
quarterback hits.
He got hit 15 times last week against Baltimore. A lot of those were on the blitzes. Like even like I said, during the week talking to Mitchell Schwartz, he was like, "Yeah, it's Baltimore. It seemed like they were blitzing like every play.
Yeah.
Where they knew this week it was going to be getting it with 4, getting to the quarterback with 4." And he even mentioned, I think he used the phrase that that's sort of what basically that's the model, or like that's the way you do it in the NFL. Is if you can do it with 4, then they let you do things on defense.
Yep.
Yeah, so but I don't remember, just anecdotally, anybody who just sent 4 and said, we're gonna put some pressure. I mean, it probably. I mean, and what were the numbers? I'm trying to remember.
5 hurries. 5 hurries.
quarterback hits. Excuse me. Bosa had 1. Phillips had 1. Melvin Ingram had 2. The 2 that jump out in my mind were the 2 to start the third quarter, that first drive.
Yeah.
They got on him back-to-back plays.
But
Yeah.
Bosa, I feel like Bosa. I could have swore Bosa had more than they said 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was pretty sure there was 2 plays.
Yeah.
Like back to back.
Yeah. I think it was that third
Yeah, I remember
quarter.
tweeting out. I was like, somebody gonna want to get on Joey Bosa.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
didn't do. He kind of had his way with them. He obviously changes the whole dynamic of the line because you have to give him way more attention than the other 3. So he had his way tonight.
It's also interesting, just real quick point.
No.
When the Chiefs had their gotta have it offensive possession, it was ended. I know they had the penalty, whatever, but it was ended on third down. Was it Ingram or Bosa? I forgot. Somebody got the sack on Mahomes on that third down to force that.
It was Ingram.
And when the Chargers had their gotta have it drive, they didn't get to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, they only got to
Rivers was
him.
clean.
Yeah.
They got to him once in the whole fourth quarter. So like they ended up with, I think 5 sacks. And
12
like
quarterback hits.
12 hits.
Chris Jones
but,
had
like,
8 quarterback
Chris
hits.
Jones had a night.
He was killing Phillip Rivers.
He's gonna be
Well,
so
but
rich.
they were killing him in the first half. In the second
Right.
half, they were bruising him.
Yeah.
If the first half they were killing him, the second half they were bruising.
Killing
Because they
Blair
didn't get
over
him. They got 1 sack in the second half. So 1 out of the 5 sacks second half, and I think they had 9 hits at halftime.
Yeah.
So they only hit him 3 times. So you're talking about 3 hits and 1 sack after halftime, and they scored 22 second half points. So I mean that's it right there. I mean,
Side note before we get to my main point, when Jones had that second sack, when we were talking about the money, did you guys all watch Breaking Bad? I thought of the scene in the storage locker where he, like, the 2 guys, like, lay on the pile of money. That was where my mind went after that second Chris Jones sack. What you were talking about, the gotta have it drive for the Chargers towards the end of the fourth quarter would surprise me, and I'm not trying to, everyone's kicking Bob Sutton tonight, but it was 4th and 7, I think it was, and I thought the Chiefs would have a blitz, but they also didn't drop anyone back. It wasn't like anything like a nickel package, but it was just but they didn't stuff the line either for a blitz. And you'd think on a 4th and 7 they put somebody back there because it's not a 4th and short. They have to have somebody. It's a long pass if they're going to convert, and they just had nobody. And I think I forget what the final. I think it was a 17 or 20 yard gain it was that they converted on that, and I just thought it was a really weird coverage given the distance, and no one would have blamed them if you brought the house or brought a safety blitz or some DB in, but they also didn't drop anyone back to prevent the pass either. Just, to me, that was the most questionable, like, what are you doing moment of that whole drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I had some more. We have lots of questions. Let's take a couple. Or just read comments because they're also great.
This is the first time after a bad loss on my job that I haven't gotten a reader email or voicemail. So I feel for you, but like
immediately got some.
I feel for you, but like there's a little part of me that's happy it's not me.
Just check Twitter. You'll see plenty of
Yeah,
check Twitter.
it's you know who we haven't talked about, by the way, which was like the thing going into this game, is the fact that Eric Berry started.
Yeah.
That is, sorry, I know I said we were going to take questions, but then I was just reminded, like, oh yeah, that 2-9 did start. We were all trying to figure out how they were going to introduce him. Were they going to do a tribute video? Are they going to let him run out at the end of the offense? And then he was like mixed in a little bit at the beginning of the video, and then it quickly went to all the offensive starters, and then he ran out on the field with everybody else.
It was like a Where's Waldo type
Yeah,
of deal.
yeah, it was
like
really
you're all like
understated.
you're all expecting the big like the flames coming out for him
Right,
and everyone
right.
goes crazy, and then I was looking at my binoculars and he was just with everyone else.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, like
Which
I
I
would have
wonder-
milked that if
yeah.
it was if you're trying to get the fans riled up and
I
everything.
think it was by design because the last time he came back was a Thursday night game against Denver, and they lost. So if Eric Berry ever goes out again, he's never going to make his debut on a Thursday night. But he comes out, he plays a half, played pretty well. He was crucial, and he blitzed Phillip Rivers
On that
the
first-
on
yeah.
the first pass play, second play of the game. That leads directly to Steven Nelson's interception, which was huge, set up their first score.
Yeah.
I thought overall he played pretty well. What are your thoughts on how he did?
I thought he looked like a really talented player who hasn't played in a really long time. I thought he had some nice plays. You mentioned the blitz. I thought maybe, at least, obviously just on one watch, the most impressive play was down near the goal line.
The run stop?
Yeah, it was a first and goal
Right,
from
right.
the 4, and he kind of does this ninja move around the blocker and makes a stop either for no gain or one, very short gain. That looked like Eric Berry, and there were times like he had a lot of energy, a presence about him.
You could just, the way he was bouncing around,
yeah.
he was moving more than anybody
Yeah.
else. And as Neil just mentioned, did you see how much Berry was directing traffic
Yes.
Yes.
pre-snap when he was
Yes.
in?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was
And
a
I don't-
lot.
Yeah, and I don't even know if they showed a replay of that one. There was in the end zone, there was a ball that got thrown, and right before it, maybe I only saw it on the one replay, but he was getting after, I think it was Nelson Fuller, about who was supposed to be lined up where. And you could just see, from the replay that he was, jumping and yelling and pointing, and because somebody was not where they were supposed to be. I'm trying to remember if there was a penalty ended up being a penalty. I don't think the pass didn't get completed, but I think there might have been a penalty on the play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I noticed that right away because, and then again, you probably notice it. And who knows if it would have been the same sort of situation? But the 2-point conversion play,
Yep.
clearly there was miscommunication. Now, I'm not saying that he would have fixed that, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
you notice,
Yeah.
when he was out there in a similar situation, jumping on guys to make sure everybody gets their stuff together.
Yeah.
And
I
then
think that's a huge thing you miss when
Yeah.
he's out.
Yeah. There were some bad snaps too. There
there's
was
a deep pass that got
Oh yeah.
the Mike Williams down the left side where it just looked like he was a step late. Look, maybe that's projecting. Maybe even full speed he can't get there. There was another play. It was in the second quarter, I think, where he just kind of got caught in no man's land. Like he kind of came up, didn't know where to go back, and the ball went right over him. Yeah, I
Right,
think
right.
that was Tyrell Williams. I think the other
It
Williams.
was a Williams. It's a good guess.
There were some. My point is it wasn't a pro football focus grade of 90 in the first half, and then didn't play in the second half. Obviously, there's some rust. Which how can there not be, right? I mean, he's played 3 quarters in 2 years.
Yeah.
But I think there's enough to believe that he can help.
Yeah.
At the very least. I was a little bit surprised. I shouldn't have been. This is a dumb expectation on my part, but I was a little bit surprised the way they used him. It just seemed like we're going to let him play until he tells us no. And I thought they might have been a little bit more situational about it.
Right.
And, just third downs on tight ends, that kind of thing.
I thought for morale it would have been good even if he was out there a couple plays on those final drives just to
Right.
try to get something going. I thought, and again, we don't know the full nature of the whole. I mean, they've been pretty quiet about the whole thing, but you'd think.
Sorry.
That was a beat writer chuckle.
Yeah, you'd think that he would want to. I mean, he hasn't been out there in a while, but you'd think he'd want to push it or at least try to get creative in some way to rile up the fans or again give some kind of inspiration. I thought there were a couple plays again because we just talked about how they had some weird coverages where I think he could have been out there and his presence could have made a difference, but he probably wasn't going to be near the ball that much and could have stayed.
Yeah.
So, and then again, as Lynn was saying, he was directing traffic a lot out there too. So,
But when you talk about like that last drive, I mean, like it's either spread it out or condense it. Like I don't think you like if you say okay, it's going to be a half or it's going to be however many snaps, and he reaches that in the first half. I don't think you bring him back just at the end of the game because you know I mean like if he sat all that time, then you just throw him in there cold. Like you got to spread it out. You know, you can't.
That's fair.
Okay,
That's fair.
I mean, and I thought maybe that's what they were. I thought maybe they were doing that, but I mean, because it was sort of weird because it wasn't even a full half. That last drive of the half, he came out and he was standing there right behind Bob Sutton. We thought maybe he was going to go back in at some point. Like they were like, I mean, I'm like, hey, yeah, he's going to.
And he still had his helmet on.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, they're giving him a blow. I was like, you play one game in 2 years, you get a blow.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, he was going to go back in, but then he just never did.
It was interesting asking him about why he chose this week. First thing he was asked was how close have you been to playing on a number of occasions and why this week. He said, it just felt right this week, just sitting around and talking to my parents and talking to the coaches and the staff. I just felt like it was a good time to come in and get something going. And he said that the fact that there's a 10-day break in between games was also a part of it. But then I asked him if he felt different this week than he had in previous weeks. And his answer was really interesting. He looked at me and he said, not really. I probably could have come back last week, but there was still that hesitation, I guess. I just didn't feel it in my spirit, so I said I would wait till this week. I thought that was a really interesting answer because the whole moral of this injury or the whole takeaway from this injury is that there's been a lot of trust between Barry and the coaching staff, and they're going kind of off feel on this. There isn't necessarily a scale that or a concrete thing that you can diagnose to be like, well, he's on at this point on this scale. It's just kind of a fluid thing.
Yeah.
Sam, were you in the huddle with Barry?
No.
You were in the huddle?
Too deep for me.
It got really deep. I was like hanging in Daniel Sorensen's locker trying to talk to him. But what do you think when you hear that, when he says, I just didn't feel it in my spirit last week?
I think he's been super cautious. And I think the Chiefs have, I don't know about encouraged, but certainly been on the cautious train. And it doesn't surprise me. I know that there were people in the building that expected him to play last week against the Ravens. They thought that was going to be the thing. I know when people hear that after a loss, the reaction is, screw you, didn't feel it in your spirit. You feel it every you feel it with your game check every week and all that. But I think this is different. I think he's different. And I completely get the desire to be cautious with this, and the way that the Chiefs season has gone has allowed him to be cautious. And so what if he plays against Baltimore? He's going to turn around and play on 3 days rest or whatever. That would be more games than he's had since 2016. That doesn't make any sense.
That's what I think makes this interesting because now they have a 10-day break. I mean, what's a reasonable expectation now for Seattle that he goes a full game?
I think he's got to,
Yeah. I think it has to. Yeah.
And they're going to need him too with the way Russell Wilson's playing. They need him.
And that's a bad matchup for them regardless. It's not great, which, by the way, plug for next week. We'll be back next Thursday with a full breakdown of the Seahawks game after we get sleep between now and then. The little bit that we can get. Do you think people's reactions would be different to Barry if he'd had that same quote and this team had won? This feels like a duh question.
Yes.
I just want to say it because
people wouldn't even be pointing the finger at him, which wasn't deserved in the first place.
The number of responses I've gotten to the tweet of the video that are just like, he's a baby. Y'all, he beat cancer. Can we just stop with that? I think he knows what he's talking about.
That's what you need to. If what you're typing with your thumbs includes, some, Eric Berry's soft or whatever, like you need to
Lord.
delete the app, walk away from your phone.
Delete yourself.
And I kind of wonder if, because I was standing there too, and the whole spirit thing. I wonder if it was more like one. it's the first time we've heard him talk this year. So I'm not sure if that's more just sort of the way he expresses himself, like he didn't just mean like, oh, I just wasn't like I don't know. I didn't take it as I wasn't feeling it. Like I just didn't want to. I took it more as that the hesitation thing that he said was probably the thing that I would hone in on more. As opposed to, of course, everybody on Twitter is going to jump on the Spirit. But, like, the hesitation, it's like, well, and he never really expanded on that. But, I mean, was that, like, a physical hesitation? Was that I don't know if I'm going to, like, be able to go and play again that soon after it? Was it a hesitation because once he went out there, he wanted to just be able to go, like, the rest of the season? Like, that, to me, was sort of more what the thing was as opposed to, I wasn't feeling it. Like, I mean...
That's that's not what he meant. I don't want to speak for him or whatever, but I think what he was saying is, I was 90% sure last week, but I wanted to be 100.
Yeah,
I think that's what that was.
And considering how long it's been, I mean, that's not unreasonable.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get to talk to him again at some point, and we talked to him for about 2 minutes tonight. In front of his locker. It was chaos, as you would expect. So that was a great experience. Another guy we haven't talked about extensively is Patrick Mahomes tonight. He was pretty spectacular there in the first half, although he had, I don't know if we verified this, but he had what felt like a season low in first half yards. Barely had 100. I think he had 109, is that right?
Yes, at halftime. I was trying to think of what we're going to call, like, the first touchdown. Like, he pretended to throw it out of bounds, and he just whipped it across his body.
Well, it was weird because where we were sitting in the press box, we heard what we thought was like an errant whistle, and so we thought the play was kind of dead. And then all of a sudden, like, he fakes a pass, looks like the play's dead, and then finds DeMarcus Robinson and hits him.
Yeah, another reporter accused that whistle was a text alert from another reporter at their phone. I'm calling crap.
God, that's what that noise was. If that's your text,
it was
alert,
too timely for me to buy any stock in that. But no, I thought that was one of. I thought he just like gave up on the play. Honestly, he's just like kind of trotting towards the sideline, and then he's just like laser beam. And I didn't even. It happened so quick. I didn't realize till I saw the replay twice that he was looking to throw it away or pretended to throw it away until he whipped it across. I thought he just was almost like giving like a fist bump with the ball because it was just a one bam.
Right.
And it's just every week there's something else to add to the list.
There is, and you talked to Phillip Rivers after the game.
Yes.
What did he have to say about that?
He was very, I think he kind of broke Twitter with his like reaction of just the his mouth hanging open.
Curse.
Yeah, I can't. No,
it's Facebook Live.
Well, no, I didn't
$127.
even. I wasn't going for the curse word. Just like I don't want to look like an idiot with my mouth hanging open. But he just had like the kid drooling almost look. And I asked him, I was like, the two things I asked him, I said, did Eric Berry change the way you prepared for the game or how you perceive the Chiefs' defense? And he said no, because we've been playing Eric Berry every year, twice since we've both been there. But I knew that he changed the way that the rest of the defense felt. I knew there was a trickle-down effect to that. And he said he was very happy for Eric Berry because he's beaten cancer. He's been injured a lot the past 2 years. He's a great representative of the NFL, given his story. And he said he was really happy to see him out there. Mahomes, he said he would have thrown 6 picks if he tried to impersonate Mahomes, which I thought was very... Phillip Rivers hasn't been to a Super Bowl. I don't even think he's been to a conference championship game. But he's still been one of the most consistent... That's right, one.
He played with a torn ACL.
Yeah. He's still been... He doesn't have a ring or anything, but he's been one of the most consistent quarterbacks of the 21st century, essentially. So for him to say he's thought Mahomes has a one-of-a-kind arm, pretty much what we've all been saying all year, but for it to come out of his mouth and say, like, if I try to impersonate him, I'm going to put it in the stands or I'm going to have 6 picks, like...
I love that quote.
Yeah.
They are so different.
Yes.
As quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Just the platforms and the mobility. I mean, Phillip Rivers, even when he was 21, was not like, running around like gunslinging or whatever.
And that he said that as a young quarterback, he says like Mahomes breaks kind of all the rules of what they kind of tell you to do before you get more experience. And he just said like pockets collapsing, he's got no problem like running around in a circle until he finds someone open rather than just throwing it away or burning it. And I thought given I had never dealt with Rivers before. I knew it was a good interview, but I kind of had a feeling like he might just kind of like brush it aside, like not knowing he kind of looked like weird on TV. And he sang his praises. He thought that he just thought that the stuff he gets away with for his age is kind of breaking all the traditions of what they're teaching guys. So
Well, it's even like what we saw in the warm-ups, the stuff that he was doing.
yeah.
Well, isn't Rivers is I might be remembering incorrectly. Isn't his old man a coach? Am I thinking of somebody else? I thought Rivers was old.
This is why we have computers in front of us.
there
Let's
we
see
go.
what let me see what
See
Wikipedia
what
says.
Google says.
Where his father, Steve, was the head coach of Decatur High School's football team.
Yeah. So
Go-
for
you
him to
go,
talk
Lynn.
About the rules and all that stuff. I mean, it sort of fits if he had an old man who was a coach who was probably
Yeah.
like all this freelance and stuff. All this running around. No. I mean, and I'm trying to think. He played was it NC State, right?
Yes.
I don't
Sure
remember
did.
who. That's right. Should have asked North Carolina.
Yeah.
By the way, he calls the playoffs the tournament, which, like, what the hell? You didn't even go to a
Yes.
basketball school. Why is that what you call it?
Well, they're not really a football school though either.
They're more of a
So
football school than a basketball school.
I guess lately, the FBI had us saying that too a little bit.
That's also true.
With Rivers, real quick, I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Oh, so when Vahe and I were staking out Eric Berry coming through the tunnel before the game, Mahomes walked in and Rivers was preoccupied talking to somebody in front of the Chargers locker room. And Rivers completely ditched whoever he was talking to, like ran over to Mahomes and said, "You're killing it right now. I can't believe the season you've had." Like, quick little like hug, and then just showered him with praise. And like Vahe and I kind of watched this, there's a 13-year age gap between them. It's not like there's any connection between colleges or conferences or part of the, Rivers from Alabama, Mahomes from Texas. So I thought I was very impressed with how, again, I always knew Rivers was a class act, but, he had no one would have blamed him if he just kept doing what he was doing, maybe gave a little wave or a peace sign like Mellinger does with me. But I was very impressed with how, clearly Patrick Mahomes has a huge fan in Phillip Rivers, and he kind of backed that all up tonight.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Neil has my favorite comment of the night. Rivers is about to have his 9th kid. Feels like he's trying to field and coach his own football team. Maybe so. Damn. Good job, Neil.
Yeah.
Made me almost snort laugh.
That's a lot of college funds, but he can afford it.
He can. And I had a thought that we were going to go with, and I just... Damian Williams. He played really well tonight. He started. Not to toot my own horn, but I had multiple people ask me, should I start Damian Williams in fantasy? And I said, yes. So I think I should get a cut of all their earnings if they win anything. But we also get to talk to him for the first time tonight since he's kind of taken up a bigger role with Kareem Hunt out, Spencer Ware out tonight. Damian Williams starts, has 2 touchdowns, plays really well. It seemed like the tandem of him and Darrell Williams, so many Williams. There were 4 on the field tonight between the two teams. Absurd. But it seems like they were working out really well. What did you guys think?
I think they've got a player in Damian Williams. I think that you could do worse than Spencer Ware and Damian Williams as your 2 backs. I mean, I think, it's definitely a step down, right, from Kareem Hunt, at least from what we've seen so far with Damian Williams, but that's okay. I think what it does is, in the draft, you don't feel pressure to take it back in the 3rd, 4th round.
Right.
You can keep drafting players that play
Yeah.
defense, which is what they still and maybe forever will need.
If we could talk about Darrell Williams real quick too, while Ron Williams, he played at LSU behind Leonard Fournette and Darius Geis. Can we talk about that backfield?
It's a good room.
And Les Miles got fired that year.
Yeah.
Like, how can you get fired with 3 NFL running backs?
Because he didn't have Patrick Mahomes. I mean, who was their quarterback? I'm trying to remember.
That's not what you
That's exactly. See that
Well,
that's how he got
that
fired.
says all you need
That's
to
how he
know.
got
Yeah.
Who's the quarterback? Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't remember them ever. I mean, like, who was the last guy who they thought was a good quarterback?
Jamarcus Russell.
Exactly.
Bad confession, I once got a Jamarcus Russell jersey at Macy's for $2.50. I never worn it, but it's a pretty good deal for an NFL jersey.
At least you didn't even spend $5.
And I'm so glad that you're our guest star tonight on Facebook Live, so we can have good, interesting facts like that at 1:35.
Yeah, well, I got to bring something, so.
Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap it up. We kept stalling, waiting for Vahe to show up, but he
Yeah.
big-timed us, so it's fine. This
Yeah.
is now 3 in a row that he's missed. starting to see a pattern here.
Yeah.
So we're going to sign off. We're going to take a long weekend, but that doesn't mean that there isn't going to be good content up on kansascity.com and in your newspaper every morning. We'll have some fresh stories, some follow-ups off this game, and then, of course, we'll be back next week as the Chiefs get ready to play Seattle in Seattle. We'll be on Facebook Live in 6 days, so hope that you can handle this drought without us. So until then, we'll see you later.